Hi, it's Mark from Cool Science here again. We're getting ready for our kids' mini fruitcake toss coming up on Saturday. And what that is, it's kind of like pumpkin chunkin', but it's with tiny little catapults. And instead of throwing pumpkins or shooting pumpkins, the kids are going to fling marshmallows and little tiny pieces of fruitcake. And that's where we get our name fruitcake toss from. And historically, that comes from an event that was done in Manitou Springs, Colorado, near where we are, and they build full-size catapults, and adults fling full-size fruitcakes, and they did that for years and stopped doing it recently, and hopefully we'll start doing it again. But we have a mini fruitcake toss for kids, and I'm going to show you how we build our little catapults, or how the kids are going to build their little catapults. And we've been doing this design for about 8 years now, and it's evolved over those years to make it a little more kid-friendly. And these are the materials that we use. This is a piece of 1x4 wood that we've cut 5 inches long, and we've drilled 2 holes in it. And the holes aren't straight. We found that we like to drill the holes so that these dowels, these are 1/2 inch dowels, and the holes are also drilled 1/2 inch, will go in at a little bit of an angle like this, give us a little more room to work on the inside. So we've got 2 dowels, we've got our base, we've got a little Cool Science logo on the base to remind kids where our website is. We use a paint stirring stick from Home Depot. They generously gave these to us, and we cut them in half and then drill a small hole in one end. That's where our ammunition cup is going to go later on. And then we also need a popsicle stick. We need some rubber bands. These are number 32, I believe, rubber bands that work pretty well, but you can find the size that works for you. And then we also need some little rubber bands. I can't remember the number of those. And let's get started building it. So we take our base, and we also give the kids sandpaper. We like to use bricks, and they can sand any edges, get rid of any splinters there might be. We also often need to use the sandpaper to taper the end of our dowels a little bit. They're a little tight going into these holes, and so we have the kids do a little sanding with sandpaper, at least get that end tapered a little bit so that we can get it started in the hole, like I'm going to do here. So that goes in the hole there. I'm going to put this other one in the other hole, and then we'll finish it with these pliers to get it in there nice and tight. You don't want these catapults coming apart as they use them, and so I like to get them pretty much all the way to the bottom. It's not necessary. I think it's more important that we try to even them up so it looks good. And so it looks pretty good there. Okay, the next step is they're going to take their rubber bands, and we're going to take these fatter number 32 rubber bands, and we could just put them on here like this, but they're a little loose and floppy, and of course we want power for our catapult, so we're going to double up our rubber bands. And we're going to use, for our basic design, we use for the kids, once they build their basic catapult, of course they're going to start in re-engineering and redesigning it as they experiment. And so you'll find that there are some other ways to do the rubber bands, but we're going to get it on there. We want to put them on there, and we want to leave a space, you know, maybe 1/2 inch or so between them, like so. And that's because our next step, we're going to weave our lever arm, our paint stirring stick, in between them. And there's a couple ways we can do this. Basically, we're going to zigzag it to attach it to the rubber bands. And one way to do that is to start it off in between the top 2, and then basically just zigzag our way by going behind the rubber bands and back, and in front of the rubber bands in front, behind the rubber bands and back, in front of the rubber bands in front. And then I find it's better to leave it behind the bottom 2 and in front of the front 2, and that way when we pull back we're using all of our rubber bands. So that's one way to do it. Let's see that again, maybe a little closer. So we're going to go in, we're going to go behind the ones in back, in front of the ones in front, behind the ones in back, in front of the ones in front, and then behind that one. Okay. Another way I'll show just real quick to weave the rubber bands in there is to take it and grab the rubber bands in back, pull them to the front, and put the paint stir stick between the 2. And then we're going to do it again. Pull these ones back, out in front, make a little hole to put them in there. And pull this back. I'm doing this kind of backwards from the way I normally do it, which is why it's giving me a little more trouble. pull that back, and get it around there. And then that's another way of really tightly weaving it in there. And then we'll probably want to leave it behind that one. And then if you end up with a rubber band that's not helping you, you can always slide it down, pull it back there, and we got that. And let me show you one more trick. If you really want maximum power, I'm going to go back to my first weaving method here. But instead of, I should have noted before, we want to start with this hole at the top because that's where we're going to attach our ammunition holder cup. But if you want more power, you can reverse that. Start it with the bottom, and I'm going to zigzag it in between the way I did it the first time. Leave it like so. But now, I'm actually going to pull it through there, pull it around again, and that's going to give us more power. So I'm going to leave it like that. I want more power. All right, now, if we go to shoot this right now, you can see it's going to shoot our ammunition right into the tabletop here. So that's what the popsicle stick is for. We're going to take a popsicle stick, put it in there, and that stops it, and now we're going to shoot up at more of an angle, at more of an arc, which we want to get a nice trajectory on our catapult. It also, by sliding the popsicle stick up and down, you can see how we have a little bit of adjustment in that angle that we fire at. To attach it, we're going to use two smaller rubber bands, and we're going to basically, I've found girls have told me that this is how they put rubber bands in their hair, so the girls tend to be a little better at doing this than the boys are. But basically we're just twisting and wrapping it around both the dowel and the popsicle stick to hold it in place, and again allow us that little bit of adjustment that we got. Okay, now we're almost done. Now we just need to attach our ammunition cup, and I like to cut the cup in half. I'm just going to quickly come around here. Some kids like a little shallower cup, some like a little deeper one. We also take a thumbtack and poke a little starter hole in there, and we're going to use one of these brass paper fasteners to attach it to our lever arm. And I like to enlarge that starter hole a little bit, make more of a slot, and then we're going to go in from the inside of the cup, pull it out to our hole here, and then spread the little tabs, and we are done. And that is our basic catapult now. Now there's one more trick that we've added recently. Some kids like to have a trigger, and there are many ways to do a trigger, but one simple way to do a trigger to hold that down while we're loading it up with our ammunition, which for us is marshmallows and fruitcakes, is I'll take another one of these fatter rubber bands and we'll put it around the base and back, and then notice I double that up so it would be nice and tight. We don't want it sliding off. And then I'm just going to lift one of the turns of the rubber band, and I'm going to take another smaller one, and I'm just going to loop it in here to make a little handle, and that's going to give us a nice trigger. And notice what we can do now. We pull the lever arm back, we pull the rubber band until it latches and holds on to our lever arm, and then to shoot we just pull until it releases, and it gives us a nice simple trigger. And that's how we do it. And then of course we're going to load it up. Get some ammunition here. I've got a couple of marshmallows. Load them in our ammunition cup, and that's how we do it. Thanks for watching, and hope we'll see you at our kids' mini fruitcake toss.